morning. I was waiting for Mr. Joy to point his finger at me. Sign in. Do you see us? We're live. We are doing a very fun project this week. Today, it's Friday, end of the week. We made it through another week. So sign in, let me know you're there. It's Friday, the 24th. Effie had a birthday yesterday. Mom had a birthday yesterday. Anybody else had birthdays? Lots of you, I said I didn't know your birthdays. We're on, we're live. We got kicked off for a minute. So are you there? We're here. It's Friday, April 24th. We're here. We were here. We got kicked off. We're back. Internet's such a fun thing to deal with. Give us a comment. Type in. Let me know you're there.
Joey's there and Dana's there.
Mia and Evie. Dana's there. Who else is there, Mr. Joey?
Joey.
Oh, Joey's there.
And Alicia just said hello.
Mr. Joey says Joey's there. Hi, Joey. And Alicia's there. Alicia painted at a painting party with me last night. She did a really good job.
Sarah Elizabeth is there.
Hi, Sarah Elizabeth. You're gonna paint. Oh, we're doing this fun project today. My Fridays, I kind of look for something a little goofy and a little fun. So we're gonna do a really fun project today. It's all about family. But do you know if you look up family in dictionary.com, there's a zillion different definitions of what family means. So we're making a family tree, but it's not just you or mom and dad, or if you have a brother or a sister. So we're going to talk about all kinds of things that can be on your family tree. We're going to make this a really fun family tree. See my family tree? My family tree is full. So we're going to do a fun project today. We're going to use our Sharpie. If you're on, you can gather up if you've got colored pencils from the other week. I used colored pencils on mine, so colored pencils will be fun today. If you don't have a set of colored pencils, that's absolutely fine. We're going to draw with a pencil here and use our Sharpie. So you can find a Sharpie. You can just do your whole tree in black and white with Sharpie if you want. If you've got markers.
Hannah, Harper, Finley, and Bay.
Hi, Harper. Hi, Bay.
Finn.
Finley, you there? Is Anna there?
Nick.
Nick's on. Hi, Nick. So you can find anything you want to make color with today. We're going to use, should be your last piece of paper that was on your clipboard. Find your pencil and your eraser if you want an eraser today. And then we're going to use some color. I've been using colored pencils on my tree. So if you've got colored pencils from last week, colored pencils work really great. The other thing that would work really great on this tree is crayons. If you've got crayons, if you don't have colored pencils from last week, find crayons. Because it's really easy to color and make shading with colored pencils. And you can do the same thing with crayons.
There's
so
Lydia
find some
and Patrick.
Crayons. Hi, Lydia. Hi, Patrick.
And Madison.
Find crayons. Is that Madison that's there with Bay? Hey, Madison.
I think so.
I think I got more than one Madison doing lessons with us. I've got like 3 Olivias. Joey, I think you're the only Joey besides the one running the camera here.
There's Miss Clark.
Hi, Jean. That's my friend Jean, just logged on. She painted in a painting party last night too. We did these awesome silhouettes of giraffes. Some of the grown-ups that were painting with us last night live, and they all turned out really cool. So let's see, who do I have? Lots of Sophies. Do you know, I think we have 4 Sophies doing classes with us in the mornings. So first thing I want to tell you, I think we got a lot of people signed on, is if you were here, I think we did this week 3. This was our week that we had the catastrophe and our live stream didn't save, and it took us like 48 hours to get it re-recorded and uploaded, and then I think part of it was missing. But some of you that did our little group planters with us, we did these in week 3 with our clay that went home in the bag. Can you see this cute little group? This is, whose is this?
Your.
This Ella's. This is Olivia and Julia's big sister. And this is her Groot. And then some of the people that made Groots that had scraps left over made these little owls. See Olivia or Ella's owl. So this is Ella's. All of our Groots and our owls are out of the kiln. And so this Saturday, when your bags are out there to pick up, or if you're not doing a bag, but you should be doing a bag because we're going to do cool stuff next week. So I'll just assume everybody's doing a bag. So if you made a Groot, your Groots will be out there on a table. They've all got these little Post-its in here with the name on them. It's going to be easier to have all the Groots sitting on a table, and you'll grab your Groot off the table instead of trying to put them in the bags, because they'll kind of bang around in the bags. So be sure this Saturday when you come to pick up your bag for next week, if you made a Groot and dropped it off to me and an owl, look for it on the table out there. I'm going to hand Ella's Groot to Mr. Joey so I don't bump it off the table. He's going to put that in a safe spot. And then today we're going to take our last piece of paper and something that you can color with. So we need our Sharpie and a pencil. If you want to use pencil, I'm just going to draw with my Sharpie, but you can use pencil because we're going to plot out our tree first. We're going to talk a little bit about drawing a tree and how you draw a tree that makes it look like a really cool tree. So sometimes we draw trees and they look a little wonky. We're going to draw a really cool tree here. So we're going to talk a little bit about drawing a tree. And then we're going to add some color to it. But first we're going to put like 10 jillion leaves on it. Do you see all the leaves on my tree here? I have 10 jillion leaves on my tree. Do you notice how some of my leaves have names in them? Some of my leaves have names in them. I might add a few more names. And then I might just leave some of my leaves blank. Some of my leaves are blank. I think if I can see it from behind, I got some blank leaves here. So there's certain spots I've left some of my leaves blank to begin with, because this is what I'm going to call my family tree. You ever heard that expression? Sometimes people research their family tree. It starts with them and it branches out to their mom and their dad, what their names were. And from the mom, then it branches out to who were mom's mom and dad. So you get all kinds of branches on a family tree. It shows you who all of your ancestors were, who had somebody who had somebody who had somebody who finally had you. So that's one definition of a family tree. Those usually look boring because they look like little graphs that go out and out and out like this. We're going to make a really cool tree. Since they call that graph a family tree, I'm going to use the idea of actually drawing a tree. And my leaves aren't all in the right places. Like my mom and dad might not be right next to my name, but I'm going to put leaves all over my tree, and every leaf is going to have a name in it that's part of my family tree. The coolest thing about a family tree is if you look up the definition of family, family doesn't have to just mean who's related to you by blood, meaning your mom or your dad or your sister or your brother. That's not the only definition of a family. Some people have lots of family that are related that way. Some people have small families. You might not have a brother or sister. You might have a really little family. But you might have some really close friends of yours that you consider family. Your very best friend that until we were all safe inside our houses, maybe used to come over and play all the time or eat dinner with you. So families can include all kinds of people in your family that might not be actually related by blood. They might have married into your family. I have two very special daughter-in-laws, Mary and Carolyn. And while they aren't related to me by blood, but they're my daughter-in-laws because they married into the family. So you've got big families that you can think about. We're going to draw this tree here. We're going to add 10 million leaves onto your tree. And you can go around. This will be fun. The rest of the day, you could be asking and thinking up names that would be part of your tree. When you were growing up, maybe mom and dad had some really close friends. And since it's not polite when you're a little kid to call a grown-up by their first name, you might have referred to them as Aunt Mary or Uncle Sam or whatever their names were. My boys, Mr. Joey and Mr. Josh and Mr. Charlie, grew up calling a number of our very close friends aunt and uncle. Charlie actually married the daughter of one of his aunts and uncles. So we're going to think about all these cool people that are part of your family, whether they live in your house with you or whether they live across the country on the other side. And we're going to think about how many people could be part of your family tree. Your best friend down the street that we haven't seen for a while. Maybe you have a teacher that you just love so much at school. So think about all those people, and we're going to draw this huge big tree. We're going to give this tree a lot of branches. See all the branches on my tree? When I drew my tree, I put lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of branches, so I could add lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of leaves. So I wanted a really big family tree because I feel very blessed and very lucky that I have a lot of people in my life that are close to me. So I'm going to have Mr. Joey moving the camera. We're going to talk a little bit about how you draw a tree so it looks like a very cool tree. I'm going to lay my tree down here on the table so you can see it. I'm going to move my colored pencils. You could get some markers. If you don't have colored pencils, markers will work. Crayons would work really, really well if you have a pack of crayons. Let me move my stool so I don't bump Mr. Joey's camera. He doesn't like when I make his camera jiggle. So let me get my stool situated here. We'll put our colored pencils over here for right now. And I'll grab my pencil here. And let's see if I can find a place to put my stool so I don't bump Mr. Joey's camera. Okay, can you see my tree here? And you got your blank piece of paper. Now, like I said, I'm going to draw with my Sharpie first, but you can go ahead and draw with your pencil if you'd like. That way, if you draw a limb someplace that you don't quite like it and you want to move it around, it'll be really easy. So if you want to use your pencil, that's absolutely fine to draw your tree with your pencil. I'm just going to draw with my Sharpie here and see if I can do it so it doesn't turn out too wonky. Okay? So, do you see the bottom of my tree here? Can we see the bottom of these, Joey?
Mm-hmm.
See the bottom of my tree? It's got these big, gnarly roots. Because sometimes we see a tree trunk come down and just disappear into the grass, right? The roots are way down underneath in the ground. But sometimes the roots kind of crawl right out of the base of the tree. I always think those kind of trees look really cool. They look like something out of a Disney movie. So I drew my tree with some gnarly roots. You can make your tree go right down to the bottom of the paper if you want. And we'll pretend the roots are down off your paper. Now, one thing I want you to look at with my tree, when you draw a tree, every tree, even if it's a pine tree or a palm tree that look like they're the same size from the bottom to the top, every tree gets a little smaller as it goes up. See how wide my tree is here? As the tree gets taller, it gets a little thinner as it goes up. When limbs go off the tree, if I'm drawing a tree, it's this fat right here. When a limb goes off the side, it can't be fatter than the tree is. Okay? So we check ourselves. That's an easy way to use your pencil. Then if all of a sudden you go, oops, my tree looks a little fat there and it's skinnier below it, then we can widen out your tree. The tree is going to get skinnier as it goes up. The limbs are going to get skinnier as they go out. And here's what I want you to notice. Look at the ends of my limbs. Do they just stop with a big square on the end of them? Nah. Limbs keep growing farther and farther and farther and farther and get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier and skinnier till they just turn in to a single line. They don't just all of a sudden go from being this fat to this skinny, right? Look how long it took that limb to get skinny. So we're going to make some limbs as they go up. Look how much skinnier this limb up here is than this limb. See how wide this limb is and how skinny these are up here. And we're going to keep breaking off limbs and more limbs can go off those limbs till we get really, really skinny and we just have a point. So that's how we're going to draw a tree. Now this tree started down here at the bottom and it broke a limb off here, broke a limb off here, went up a little more, broke more limbs off, more limbs off, more limbs off, more limbs off. That gave me lots of spaces to put my leaves. One thing we need to think about is if I put too many limbs too close together, too far, that way. If I put too many limbs too close together, it doesn't leave me much space for my leaves. Now, we're going to write names on our leaves. These are all the names of people that are close to me and my family. There's Mr. Joey's name. There's Mr. Mark, who's running the computer. So if you got comments, that's who's reading your comments on the computer and responding to you. There's my little granddaughter that some of you have seen on our broadcast. There's Stella May's leaf. So we want to leave enough space in between our limbs so we have room to draw some leaves. Okay, so we're going to start by drawing a tree. So I'm going to start at the bottom of the paper. Like I said, if you want to add some roots, you can start up just a little ways. If you want your tree trunk to just run right off the bottom of the paper, you can just start right at the bottom of the paper. I kind of like the big gnarly roots. We'll talk about how to make those in a minute. So I'm going to start up. I'm going to put my tree right in the center. One of the few times I actually put things in the center of the paper. But on my family tree, I want lots of room all over. So my trunk's going to go right here in the center. I'm going to start up just a little ways from the bottom so I can add these big lumpy roots. And I want to make a really fat bottom to my tree because I want to get lots of limbs going off. So I've got to start fat enough. So I'm going to put one side over here. And here's the other thing I want you to look at. Does my line go straight like I used a ruler? No. Trees don't really look like they were built with a saw and a 2x4, do they? They've got little bits of kinks and juts in and juts out and all kinds of gnarly parts to them. So when I draw a line, I kind of make it a little jagged coming up. Now I want to leave my trunk really fat, so I'm going to make a really fat trunk. I'm going to leave a little space to put my gnarly root. And I'm going to come up on this side. Now, do you notice I came in just a little bit? So I'm this fat down here. And up here, see how I've already gotten a little thinner? Now, I like all my leaves that got to hang down here on the bottoms. So I'm going to break off a limb, but I don't want it to go too low because I want to leave room for my leaves. Okay? Now, we could draw the trunk all the way up, and I could make a limb come off of it. And it's okay if I had a line there between my trunk and my limb. So I'm going to make a limb go off this way. This limb goes off over here where Charlie and Carolyn and Stella May's names are. Hi, Stella May. Stella May came to visit me. That's Stella May's leaf. Hi, Stella May. She came to see our family tree. So let's make a limb go off this way. There is no right or wrong to how your limbs can go. We're going to go up a little ways. And then maybe I'll have a limb come off down here. I'm just drawing one side of my limb right now. Just kind of plotting where it's going to go. How about if one goes out here? Now let's see. If I want to make the other side of this limb, come down here where my limb ended. Just like at making a point. I'm going to keep the line really close to it, let it get a little wider. How about if I make another one go off this way? And we'll make the other side of it. I'm going to keep my line real close to it because these are my skinny limbs, remember? Then it's going to get a little wider as it comes back to my tree trunk here. Okay, I can make this limb just go right off here. Now let's go back to where it came off my tree trunk. Back to here, I got one limb going off. Could I add one more? I could put another little twig coming off this way. Then I can put some leaves here, I can put some leaves there, I can put some leaves there. Look at my leaves up here. Every leaf doesn't even have to hook onto a twig, does it? Okay, let's go back. This is where my main trunk was, and this limb was coming off. Now, it's coming off a pretty fat trunk, so it's going to be a little wide itself. So let's put the other side of this limb about here. Oh, okay, Joey's trying to tell me something, but I don't get it. Okay, so this limb's going to start, see how wide it is? Which is not as fat as the tree trunk, right? And let's maybe break it off and make a limb go up here. Doot, 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 doot. And maybe we make a limb go off this side. And maybe we'll make a limb go off this side. It's kind of like making a spider web almost. Now I need the other side of these twigs, so I'm going to come from its point and make a skinny little line. I'll come on this side and make a skinny little line. How about, should we make another little twig go off there? Make a skinny little line. Okay. Now, this limb needs the other side of it too, doesn't it? So maybe we'll make it go up just a little higher. And let's make the other side. And come down a little ways. How about another twig? Make one go off there and then bring the line really close to it back here. These are my skinny twigs out at the end. Now I want this limb to start getting a little fatter. So I'm going to come down again. Should I make another limb go off this way? It's kind of fun. Creating my own tree here. Off we go that way. And see, I've left good space so I can put lots of leaves, can't I? My family tree can have lots and lots of people on it. Okay, see how my twig, my limb that's coming back down here is getting a little wider? So let's make it a little wider. Remember, I don't want it to get any wider than this though. This is above this, so I can't get any wider than here. So I got to keep this from getting too fat. And maybe we are going to make another limb here. Okay. There we go. Now let's come over and make the other side of this limb. This poor little limb never got its other side. There we go. Okay, he looks like kind of like one of those skeleton Halloween bear trees, doesn't he? But I got lots of spaces I can put leaves over here. So should I come back to the main tree trunk here and come up a little farther? We kind of have to go back to the beginning here where the trunk started coming up. And imagine if this trunk was coming up, what would happen to it? Would it be out here? Remember, the trunk's going to get smaller as it goes up. So if I imagine this trunk coming all the way up, I can tell where my trunk would be. So this limb came back to the tree trunk. I'm going to bring my tree trunk up some more. I think I'll get above this whole conglomeration of limbs here. So this is my tree trunk coming up this side. And I could break some more limbs off this way. What if I come over to this side? I could make my tree trunk come up, but I think I want a limb coming off this way, don't you? So let's bring this tree trunk up a little bit. I don't want it right across from that one. But now I could break one off and come right down here. And I could come from the end of that limb and put another limb over here. Come back to that limb. See how my limb gets a little wider as it's inching its way back to the trunk. Let's put one way up like this because I want lots of space to put my leaves. Okay. Should we put another one? This is where it gets a little iffy. I don't want to come back and start here because look how fat my limb would look out here. That would look funny. So I got to come back in here and then come back to my limb. And maybe we'll make one more go this way. Let's make a really long limb up here. Keep it nice and skinny coming back down. That's going to give me lots of spaces, right? So should we take this limb back in? This isn't all going to be an awful skinny limb off the trunk, so we're going to widen it out here a little bit. There we go. Now, you got to come back here and imagine my trunk went up like this. So it's getting a little skinnier here. So let's bring the rest of our tree trunk up a little bit more. And let's branch out some more twigs. Make one go that way. One go this way. Let's bring this tree limb all the way up to the top of the page. This is this tree limb coming this way.
Zigzagging.
Yeah, it's kind of a zigzaggy. I don't think a tree limb would actually look that zigzaggy. But maybe this is a tree that lives in Whoville in Dr. Seuss's world. And Dr. Seuss probably has some zigzaggy trees. So, since this is my make-believe tree, it can kind of look however I want. But I want it to look kind of like a real tree. So that's why it's going to keep getting skinnier as it goes up. Okay? This, I need to create the other side of this limb, though. So let's go back where it would have come off the trunk. Here's how wide my trunk is right here. So I don't want my limb too skinny coming off. So let's say it's about this wide coming off. Okay? This wide coming off this big fat trunk here. So maybe I'll break it off right here a little bit. And we'll make the other side of this one. Your tree can look totally different than my tree. Your tree doesn't have to have all these weird parts to it. Let's make one more limb coming off there. Go right off the page. Okay, so this one came back down. This is this limb coming off the trunk. So let's put the rest of it in here. Maybe we'll make one little twig sticking off of it there. Maybe we'll put one right there. Oh, I wish I had put a limb here. Can I still put a limb there? I could. There isn't any reason I can't put a limb there. So we'll put one right there. That would let me put some leaves over here. Okay, what do you think? I think I got lots of space on this side to put leaves. Let's maybe put one more limb that's going to go up here. So let's go right off our trunk. No more zigzaggy limbs. And this is how wide the trunk is right here. So this limb, maybe this is where I'm going to split my trunk. Like sometimes your tree trunk goes up and up and up and then it splits in like a V. So let's bring this limb in like this. And we'll split this limb over here. There we go. There my tree came up and up and up and then split into a V like this. So let's make some branches go off over here. And we can make a little limb go off over here. That limb got really skinny. Hardly even see that limb. We'll make one go off up here. Here. Okay, so you see I just got to connect the other sides of these two limbs. I'm going to leave myself a lot of space here because I want to add a lot of leaves. I've got all kinds of people that I think are special to me that I'm going to put on my tree. So I'm going to come down here. I just brought the other side of this limb down so it looks like it now gets a little fatter, little skinnier as it goes up. So I need to add the other side of this limb. So we'll put a little twig coming out there maybe. Maybe we'll put a little twig coming out there. Okay. It really does look like one of those Halloween skeleton trees, doesn't it? Did you notice though? That one looked like that too. And then I added all these leaves and I'm making my leaves all kinds of colors. I have purple leaves, I have yellow leaves, I have blue leaves, I have red leaves, I have gamecock colored leaves, I have purple leaves because that's Lori and Mary's favorite color. Stella May got a yellow leaf because I'm her Gigi and that's Gigi's favorite color. We've got her mommy's leaf is blue because mommy's favorite color is blue. So just because a tree usually has green leaves in the summer doesn't mean we have to color all our leaves green. If you would like to color all your leaves green, you can. All your leaves could be the same color. You could leave all your leaves white if you wanted. But let me show you how we're going to put some leaves on here. And did you notice what's in the middle of my tree here? Here's the really big fat part of my tree down here at the bottom. Oh, and we need to put some gnarly roots on. Don't you like that word, gnarly? I put a heart in the middle of my tree, and that's Ms Ginny's name, G-I-N-N-Y. That's my name. So since this is my tree, I'm going to put a big heart right in the middle of my tree, and I'm going to put my name right in the middle. So you can put your name right in the middle of your tree. Draw yourself a nice big heart. Now, if we want to make some gnarly roots, roots look like they've kind of come up out of the ground and then laid back down into the ground. They go back underneath the ground. So it's just like they've, like a sea serpent. They just got a big hump that came out of the ground and went back down. Never seen a sea serpent, but I think those might be like sea serpents. So you can also tell when you look at my gnarly roots here, they don't come up in a perfectly smooth curve because they're gnarly. They're these cool old trees that are all bumpy and lumpy and cool looking. So my tree trunk or my tree root's going to come up out of the ground. So I'm going to pretend it's over here on the side of the tree. It's going to come up in a lumpy bump and it's going to go back down. And I'm going to put one on this side. There we go. Now look at these. These are, if I was looking at the tree, and they're coming right towards me. So it's like the root came up out of the ground and I'm seeing the curve on the top of it and before it goes down into the ground. So I might just see the curve on the top of the lumpy, bumpy, gnarly root going down. And then this one I see kind of from the side. So I'll see it going down, but then I'll see just the edge of my gnarly root going down. So there's all my gnarly roots holding my tree trunk to the ground. So give yourself some roots if you did. You might have had your tree trunk just go off the bottom of the page, which is fine. Now, because I wanted to add names on all my leaves, I didn't get complicated leaf shapes. I wanted the biggest shape I could with the most space to write names, because that's what makes me smile when I look at my family tree here. I see all the people that are special to me on my tree. And when I look down and see their names, that makes me smile. And it makes us feel not so alone. Everybody's kind of social distancing right now. So you can't go play with your friends. You can't go see grandma and grandpa. This is one way when I look down at the tree leaves that I can see everybody and I can close my eyes and I can just picture all the people on my family tree, and it makes me feel closer to them. So this will be a fun project. For the rest of the day, you can think of names to add to your leaves. So I used a very simple, I call it a football shape, where we make a curve and it comes to a point and then has a big fat curve on the other side. So we're going to make all these little football shaped leaves. The coolest part is, though, we're going to make one leaf and then we'll bump and jump some leaves around it. So all the leaves don't have to show, so they look like a big cluster of leaves on the end of my limbs. So I'm going to pick a spot where I've got lots of space, and I'm going to put one leaf here first. So I'm going to put a leaf down here. And since I'm right here, I'll put a leaf right here for Mr. Mark. So I'm going to make a big curve like this, and you can make some really big leaves. We want to have room to write the names in there. So I made a big curve this way, and then I'm going to come from the point and make a big curve right back to the twig. Okay? I can put one more here, put a big curve, and put a big curve back here. Now, just because that's the only points on my twig doesn't mean I can't have leaves growing off the rest of it. Some of the little twigs these leaves are growing off of might be so tiny we don't even see them on our drawing. So I'm going to bump and jump another leaf back here. I'm going to put a curve here. And then when I put the other side of it, it would go this way. And when I bump into the leaf, I'm going to stop. And the rest of it would be behind the tree limb there. Can I put one over here? I could put one here. It's going to go right off the page. And I'll put the other side of it there, and it's going to go right off the page. So I'm getting a little cluster of leaves here, which gives me 3 places I can write names. Can I put one here that's going to disappear behind the tree trunk? Yep. And that'll give me plenty of space to write somebody's name that's not a very long name. Sarah Elizabeth, you need a really big heart in the middle of your tree because you got a long name. But some people have short names. I have a little nephew whose name is Bo, so that's only 2 letters. Bay wouldn't have to be a very big heart on her tree trunk, but she could put a big heart anyway because she's got a big heart. So if you got somebody you know's got a long name, you want to make sure you got some big leaves. But I can bump and jump some small leaves on here too. I might have a little leaf that's going to stick out right here. I can come up here and put some leaves. And just because my limb's pointing that way, I don't have much space that way. But my leaf could be sticking this way. That's what's fun about this tree. Things don't have to go exactly like they would in nature. My leaves could be sticking back the other direction. So think Dr. Seuss, We're kind of making a combination of a Disney tree with Dr. Seuss in it, with real nature in it, with a lot of Ms Ginny in it. So we're going to make our leaves go whichever way we can fit some big leaves on. I'm going to make some go behind my tree, but if it goes up this way, look, I got plenty of space to write a name here. You might need some help today writing some names in some really tiny places. You'll have to find out from mom or your big sister or brother how you spell some people's names. You might not know how to spell everybody's name. Do you have to put their actual name? I have a grandmother who was very special to me. She's not here anymore. She's up in heaven. And I always called her BB. So I just wrote BB on a leaf. And if you call your Nana Sophia, might write Gigi. Her grandmother's name, she calls her Gigi. That's what Stella May calls me. So you can put the name on the leaf of whatever you call somebody. Maybe you call them Uncle Duck. Joey's got a friend of ours who he calls Uncle Duck. So if he was making a family tree, instead of it saying Kenny R, it would say Uncle Duck. And if you've got a special aunt, it might say Aunt Deb. I always called my mom Mummy. So her leaf says Mummy on it. And I still talk to her a lot, even though she's up in heaven. So she's got a leaf on my tree there. So we got leaves filling in over here. Look how full my tree's looking. It's not looking like a dead skeleton tree anymore, is it? So you can come and bump and jump. Look, when I bump into the twig, the other part of my leaf will show right there on the other side. I might draw a leaf here. It bumped into the limb. I'm going to come over the limb and put the rest of it. So then when I want to put the other side, it's going to go this way. Oops, it bumped into the twig. Jump over the twig, keep going. Right back. Let's see, it would come back to...
Right there.
Right there. Because there's my other leaf right there. It's going up that way. Okay? So add a bunch of leaves that, like I said, they don't have to go off your twigs. See, I put a leaf right here that's just peeking out from behind this limb. Once you put all these leaves on, then you'll be able to start thinking of all the names. Let's see, Olivia, she might put Ella's name on and Julia's name on and her mom's name on. And she's got a big sister who's at college, and I think her name's Anna. So everybody you've got, Sophia would put Casey's name on there. So add as many leaves as you want. Do you have to stop and only count the leaves for the names you're going to have? What do you think? Look at my tree here. I've got all my names on my tree. Did I fill up every leaf? No, look, I think I've got all my names on. I might add one or two more, but most of my leaves have got their names on them. And look, I've got a blank leaf over here by Stella May. I've got blank leaf here by Joey. I've got blank leaves in some places. Because does your family ever change? Do you ever meet somebody that you just get really close and becomes part of your family? So we can have empty leaves here because your family never stops growing. You always meet new people, and you get close to people and they become your best friend. You might not have met somebody, and they might be a leaf that's for the future. And see, Stella May might get a baby brother or a baby sister. So I had to have an empty leaf next to Stella May. So just because your tree's got lots of leaves on it, I would definitely do that. I would go around here and I would fill up every empty space you can with leaves, because we know your family can keep growing and growing and growing and growing. Now the cool thing, when you color in your tree trunk, find a brown crayon or a brown marker or a brown colored pencil, and see, I wanted my tree trunk to look three-dimensional. Does he look kind of round? I didn't want it to just look like a flat tree. And I put some shading in my leaves too, but on my tree, I wanted it to look round. One way to make something look round is to have a shadow on one side of it, let it get lighter as it curves around, and then it can have another shadow as it curves back down again. So my tree is curving this way, right? So when a tree's round, the roundest part that's closest to the sun here is going to be the lightest part. So I made the middle of my tree the lightest part. So when I started coloring my tree, out here at the sides, I pressed a little harder with my colored pencil. So on the outside edges, you can press a little harder, get a little darker color. You can do the same with your crayons. This works great with crayons too. Sometimes with markers, if you keep going over and over the marker in one place, it will make a darker shade. So press harder on the outside and then loosen the grip on your pencil and press a little lighter and a little lighter and a little lighter as you come to the middle here. So press a little lighter as you get to the middle till you almost can't see it. Can you see that? So as we get to the middle, we want to press a little lighter and a little lighter and a little lighter. The middle part of our tree is going to be the lightest part. And then as we go towards the other side, we can press a little harder again. Little harder. We don't want our tree to look like it has stripes in it. So we kind of want it to blend. So a little harder. And when you get out here to the edge, we're going to press even the hardest. Okay, so my middle is the lightest part. Can you see that? And then as I get out here to the sides, it gets a little darker. And then right out here at the edges, I'm pressing really hard to get it the darkest. Okay? So we got really dark out here at the edges, a little lighter as it gets to the middle. The middle's the lightest part. Then, so the harder you press, the darker your color. So when you, and lots of times I have to tell myself this, when I'm pressing hard, I get the darker color. I'm also gripping my pencil hard. Have you noticed that? When you press hard, you grip your pencil harder. Same with the crayon. So if you're gripping your pencil hard and you're pressing hard, you're going to get a dark color. So when I want myself to press lighter, I make myself loosen the grip on your pencil. If you loosen the grip on your pencil, you're not going to press so hard. It's a little trick to know. Now, on my roots, I'm going to make one side of them darker. And then as it goes to the other side, I'm not going to press so hard and let it get a little lighter on the other side. So my tree is starting to look three-dimensional. Okay? We can go all the way up the tree trunks like this. Make one side of your limb darker. And as it comes out to these skinny parts, the skinny parts are just going to stay pretty dark. They're getting farther away from us. This is the center where we see the most. So as you go out your limb, make one side darker and then press a little lighter and let it get a little lighter as it goes to the other side of the limb. Okay? So I do the same thing as I come up here. I'm not pressing so hard, but I want the limb going out here to get a little darker. I'm going to color it in a little darker. Now as I go up my limb here, I'll get my dark side again. Let it get a little lighter, but give it a dark side. If you've got a limb fat enough to have a light and a dark, give it a light and a dark. When the limbs start getting so skinny that you don't have space to do a light and a dark, then we'll just make them all dark. The skinnier the limb gets, the darker it can get. So now our tree is starting to look like this nice three-dimensional tree. You can keep doing that all over your tree. I would color in your tree and then take a break and think about all the special people in your life, all the people that mean a lot to you, all your grandparents or your aunts or your uncles or your cousins or your best friend down the street or your favorite teacher or your minister at church. Our minister at church called up Nana. Joey's Nana's birthday was yesterday, like Effie Hendry's was. And she got a phone call and he sang her happy birthday over the phone. So think of all those special people in your life and you can put their names in your leaves. There's Mr. Mark. He's running the computer. Here's Mr. Joey here that's running my camera. And Stella May came to visit me. She didn't leave, did she? Okay. So we'll put Stella May here. That's my granddaughter. She's pretty darn cute. So if I got Stella May on here, maybe I better put my middle kid, Charlie. That's Stella Mae's daddy. Think I can fit Carolyn's name right in there. Sometimes you might have to write really small to fit a name in. This is where I need some extra leaves over here, because I think Stella Mae someday might get a baby brother or sister. And I got a big kid, Josh, so I'm going to put his name. See how the names, they don't all have to face the same way. And Josh's wife is my daughter-in-law, Mary. Now, you know what? When you look on my family tree here, I've got a Mary here, and I've got a Mary over here somewhere. There's another Mary. So sometimes I start putting an initial with their name, so I know which Mary that is. But I know that that's Josh's Mary. So, and I'm going to leave a couple empty leaves here, because someday I might have another daughter-in-law. So we'll put an empty leaf by Mr. Joey here. Mr. Joey's not married yet. Okay, and then I can add leaves over here where I can put my mom and dad's names. And I got 2 moms. One of them had her birthday yesterday. And I'll put my dad's names on here. They're up in heaven, and I talk to both of them a lot, so I'll put their names on here. So add all your leaves, and then do your coloring. When I put names on, if you're using a crayon or a marker or the colored pencils, I put the name on, and then I can come in and add some color. You know what I started doing? Look at my tree. Are all my leaves green? Nah. I've got purple leaves, red leaves, blue leaves, yellow leaves, orange leaves. I think I have just about every color. And what I started doing on some of them, if I knew the person's favorite color, I made that leaf their favorite color. Mr. Mark's favorite color is green. So is Mr. Joey's, and so is Mr. Josh's. So I'm going to have a bunch of green leaves down here in this part of my family. But it's kind of fun to maybe pick a favorite color that person is. If that person liked hearts or polka dots or checkerboards, could you turn their leaf into a pattern? That might be kind of fun. You could put patterns on some of your leaves. You could just have a grand old time. But see, if you press lightly with the colored pencil, you're still going to see your name. You do that with the crayon, that'll work. I wouldn't suggest the oil pastels. I think they'll cover too much stuff up. Markers would go right over your names too, and you'd still be able to see the Sharpie. So if you use your Sharpie for your names, fill all your names in. Just because you fill them all in and then start coloring, if you think of somebody else to add to your tree, you can still go add. I bet you could still bump and jump and fit a leaf anywhere you wanted to. I could even, if I ran out of all my space here and I thought of somebody very special I really wished I had their leaf on, could I turn around and have a leaf just going right over my tree trunk? Could I have another leaf going right there? I could, couldn't I? So you can always find a place to put a leaf. Add lots of leaves. Put your names on them. I'm going to put a real fat leaf there. Add your names to it. Pick out all your colors you're going to put on your tree leaves. You can get some really interesting looking trees. You could just randomly put colors on like this. You could put colors on for that person's favorite color, or you could even take and make your tree look like a rainbow tree. You could start at the bottom with these leaves and make reds, and then make some oranges as you go up, then make some yellows, then make some greens. What comes next, guys? Then make some blues, then make some indigos, that's a dark blue, and then make purple leaves up the top. So your whole tree could look like a rainbow tree. You can color your tree however you would like. Be sure and keep adding leaves to it. Make sure you leave some blank leaves, because our hearts are never totally full. You can always find somebody that has a special place in your heart. So leave yourself some blank leaves. Add as many leaves as you can fit on the paper, and then start putting names in. And you'll be surprised how many leaves your tree can hold and how many people you might be able to add to your tree. So have fun with your project. This will be a great project. If you get stumped and you can't think of any names to put on your tree, ask your sister or your brother or your mom or your dad. Let them look at your tree and go, oh, did you think of so-and-so? And see if they can help add some names to your trees. So make your cool looking trees. Look, I have a forest going here. Looks kind of cool when you put it side by side. That would be really cool if you were doing this with your friends. It'll be cool to see like Bay put it next to Finley and Madison and Anna and Harper. And so Bay would have lots of names on her trees, and they would have a whole forest going together on their table. So take a picture. I really want to see your family trees. I want to see how many names you got on your family trees. You might just have a few, and you might want to just stop and think over the next few days this weekend. You don't have to fill up all your leaves right away. Stop and think about who you want to put on your leaves. Make sure you take a picture of your tree and tag us at Idea Studio. Use that little @ sign, tag us so I can see the picture. And don't forget to go on and order your bags. It will be so very helpful to Mr. Joey and Mr. Mark and I if you order your bags today. Then we'll have a much better feel when we're stuffing bags tomorrow how many that we need. The bags are going to be outside our front door on the tables, just like the last week's. They'll be out there from 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. Go on and order your bags tonight. We're going to be putting colored pencils back into bags next week. We got some really cool projects next week to do. And don't forget, there'll be a table out there next to the bags that will have all the groups. There's like 20 to 30 groups that we've got here. Your owls are with your groups. Your name will be in the groups, and they'll be on a separate table out there. So when you get your activity bag picked up tomorrow, make sure you go on today and order it. Pick up your bag, and then don't forget to check the table. If you dropped a group off the other week, they're going to be sitting on the table ready for you to take home. They've got holes in the bottom. We made these groups to be planters, so maybe you can find a pretty little pansy or some herbs. Maybe mom likes to cook, and you could plant some dill or some basil in your planter. So you can plant a cool little plant, and we will see you on Monday. Don't forget to take pictures of your trees and tag us. I want to see some cool family trees. Bye.